I didn't realize it at the time of how screwed up my relationship with my body really became until I had my son. And so I had my son at 19 years old. I got pregnant really young. And this was really my wake-up call because my whole life I dedicated to dance. And then I got pregnant and I had him, and I came into this point in my life where like everything shifted and I couldn't really have the quote unquote like life dancer lifestyle that I had before.
Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Susanne Puerschel, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or sip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Point to Rise podcast. I am so grateful that you're here today. Today's guest is Taylor Behringer. She is a healer and dance educator. We met online, and I'm just going to deliver to you her bio, and then we will tap right into our interview today. So Taylor is a lifelong dancer, mom, healer, and dance educator who is specialized in helping professional dancers heal their relationship with their bodies. She is a certified breathwork facilitator as well as a somatic food and body coach who guides dancers in using the wisdom of their own bodies to shed beliefs and programming that puts them at war with their body to create a new way of living and dancing that supports their relationship with their bodies. Now, from my own experiences, I can only say how important this kind of work is, how much I would have benefited from that with having, struggling my own eating disorders in different ways. I may have not been hospitalized over it. However, in every possible way in the dance world, some sort of strange relationship or disorder with food and our bodies is kind of programmed into the training that we're still experiencing today. So having this conversation is super important to me. It is super important to her to find something that will make a difference. And yeah, enjoy this episode. Without no further ado, here is Taylor. Hey, Taylor, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you reaching out and saying, hey, we need to, let's record a podcast episode. I want to offer some wisdom of what I have learned. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you for making that step, how much I appreciate you asking those questions. I just love that. And it's not something that I particularly see a lot happening yet in the industry that we're in. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to, be on here and just be able to share my story and everything that I learned. And I really just hope that whoever listens to this can at least get some type of a permission slip to dive deeper into their healing today. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, let's start with take us back to when you were little. Like, when did you start dancing? How did this come about? And then I also want to explore, why are you doing what you're doing today? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, totally. So I started dancing when I was 3 years old. Pretty much just grew up as the typical studio dancer. I trained hard. I knew that I wanted to be a dancer from a really young age. Dance was always a huge part of my heart. It was something that was, just like extremely special to me, which is why I think I've been able to kind of still commit to dance while also doing this healing work is that dance alone has a very special place in my heart. But as I grew up, as a well, I don't want to say normal because we're all just human. But as I grew up as a studio dancer, I started to pick up a few things from the industry that really started to, I guess, hinder my relationship with my body. The perfectionism, the always needing to prove myself, those were just like a few of the things that really started to take a toll as I grew older into my teenage years. And I didn't realize it at the time of how screwed up my relationship with my body really became until I had my son. And so I had my son at 19 years old. I got pregnant really young. And this was really my wake up call because my whole life I dedicated to dance. And then I got pregnant and I had him, and I came into this point in my life where like everything shifted and I couldn't really have the quote unquote like dancer lifestyle that I had before, at least at the time, right? When he was a newborn. And so everything shifted and there just became this awakening or this turning point where I had to ask myself, like, who am I without dance? And I realized how identified with being a dancer I actually was and how that was hindering my relationship with myself and my body. Because it wasn't just identifying as a dancer, it was identifying with all of the beliefs and all of the constructs and all of the survival patterns that we develop as dancers growing up. And so, yeah, there's like this turning point where I was like, and it was, I say turning point, it sounds like it was like a split second, but it was a long process of me kind of coming to these realizations and doing the work. But I kind of just started to realize that if I wanted to still dance, I had to start learning how to hold a different kind of space for myself. My body didn't look the same as it did pre-pregnancy. Right. My life didn't look the same as other dancers my age. And so if I wanted to keep dancing, I had to start to learn how to hold more of a space of acceptance for myself, more of a space of compassion. And I realized that I didn't even know how to do those things at the time. I didn't know how to hold compassion for myself and still dance. I didn't know how to accept my body exactly where it was and still dance and still do what I love. And I just realized that there's not really a lot of spaces that are teaching these things. And I kind of just like went out on my healing journey, did my work, still doing my work, will always be doing my work because it's constantly a healing journey. We're always on a healing journey of remembering who we are without the constructs of society and the dance industry and all the things. And through that process, I got certified in a couple different modalities and just really had this desire to start bringing it into the dance world because it completely changed my life, my relationship with my body, and my relationship to dance as well. So that's me.
Oh, wow. We could stop right here. So this is awesome. Thank you so much. I want to point something out, and what resonated so strongly with me is the who am I without dancing? And I believe that so many dancers, particularly like in the classical ballet world, struggle with that. Mm-hmm. That the identification of oneself lays on who they are in the studio, who is seeing them and not seeing them, mm-hmm. and how skinny they are. And that's the wrap, basically. Like, I'm sure there are more factors to it, but if we're looking from like 30,000 feet, that's what I'm seeing. That's what I was. And you taking that step, what a blessing your child was for giving you that in that early part of your life. Like, it took me mm-hmm. way longer than that to really have that realization that, oh my gosh, what was I doing? Why didn't I know all of these things? If mm-hmm. you wanted to say something, I can see.
Yeah, no, like I don't know if I would be where I am in my own healing journey and like really being able to feel at home in my body if it wasn't for the awakening that I had having him. And it wasn't like this beautiful process. It was messy and it was painful. And it was like my identity as a dancer felt like it was dying, really. But I'm so thankful that it happened when I was so young, so I could live out this purpose of helping other dancers find their bodies. And yeah, just like to speak on like kind of how it appears, or like how the constructs appear with other dancers in the studio. It's what am I saying here? I don't even know where I was going with that. I had a point and then it left me.
Okay, let me just reel us in. Can we, before we go in what you're doing and the topic that we really wanted to dive into today, I feel, or what I've seen so far, is that the dancer generation doesn't even yet know that there is so much more around dance than their body itself. Like it goes so many other layers deeper. And for you to step into the realization, hey, I have to actually go and do something, I have to go get help, is such a huge step outside of the known, outside of the comfort zone. And I'd love you to go a little bit deeper into how that came about, if you remember.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story. It kind of had a lot of like roundabouts, and ultimately it guided me to where I'm supposed to be. But honestly, I didn't know anything was wrong until it was smacked into my face, really, until I was in so much pain, like emotional pain, and suffering with my own body and not being able to do something about it, right? Because in the past, before I had my son, I would feel this way and then I would go do something about it. I would go work out, or I would go push myself really hard in the studio. I would stay later, I would wake up earlier and do more. Like it was always like, how can I solve this problem through ignoring what's going on internally and pushing myself externally? And so when I had my son, it started to flip. I don't think I really realized I needed help right after I had him. It was really just, okay, like I know I want to pursue something special. Like I know I want to still dance and I know I want to help people. I had this really big desire to help people, but I didn't know really I needed help at the time. So I just started to explore this world of like healing modalities, just out of like, I want to be able to help people because I didn't know like where my life was going after I had my son, because everything got flipped around. And then as I started to explore like how I can help people, I started to realize, wow, I really need a lot of help because my relationship with myself and my body, like I can't even hold space for other people. I can't even hold space for myself. And so it was really the journey of like trying to learn to help other people, which I think we can relate to if we're teaching dance or we're like choreographing, right? We can't hold space for other people until we do our own work. We can't hold healthy space for other people until we do our own work. It was in that journey of like trying to better, I guess, my ability to help other people or to serve other people that I realized that I need to start doing deeper work for myself. And so after that, I just started to really begin my own healing journey and to really like commit to myself and my body. And it still was about helping other people, but it was more about serving myself first so that I can then go and help other people and getting to know myself better. So it was a lot of roundabouts. It was like, I'm going this direction so that I can like be the best that I could be. And then spirit was like, nope, you need to do your own work. Like, no. Yeah.
I think I want to pick that out because we dancers so often forget that if their cup isn't full, overflowing, nothing is going to come out, like nothing good or great or to their full potential is going to come out. And the industry pushes its participants to serve from empty cups. Like that's the message, the 12-hour days, the I don't know, 120 nutcracker performances, all of that requires serving from an empty cup. And we haven't yet figured out, particularly in professional scenes, on how that cup is being refilled, even by the companies. Like, what are we giving those people so they can give the audience? It's that give and take, right? Like, it doesn't fit together. Two questions, actually. You were talking about emotional pain, right? Yeah. How did that show up? Like, what did that look like? Because we can label emotional pain in so many different ways, and it looks different for all of us. Sometimes we don't even know that it is emotional pain. So until somebody points the finger. Yeah. And so if you're willing to share, I'll put my 2 bits in as well. But what did emotional pain, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So at the beginning, I think the way that I recognized it was like the pain of, I didn't feel like I really belonged in the dance community anymore in the body that I had. And if I were to like really dig down deeper, I don't think I felt like that my whole entire life. There was always this fight inside of me of like, I'm not good enough. So I have to keep pushing and keep proving. And I think a lot of us dancers relate to that. And so it started to show up as, I don't belong here. I don't belong here in the dance community. My body isn't good enough. My lifestyle now doesn't fit what the definition of the dancer's lifestyle should be. And there was just a lot of emotional pain around not belonging. And ultimately it was like, I don't even belong in my body. Like this shouldn't be how it is. I've worked my whole entire life. I shouldn't still be feeling this. And then of course, as I dig deeper, there was more details, I guess, within what was showing up inside of my body. And I could really get down into, this pain is from like the guilt that I learned how to feel from this situation, or this pain was from my people pleaser that's always trying to prove itself, right? Or this pain is like the perfectionism in me. Like there's all those little details that we get to go into as we dig deeper inside of ourselves and give ourselves the safety to dig deeper. And that really started to come into play, and that's what we get to heal.
Beautiful. I'm going to share how, and I can only share it now from my perspective, looking back at, I did not know it at that time. So for me, emotional pain showed up that, people pleasing. I went into abusive relationships to be seen and to be heard and to get that love that I was looking for. And it created that emotional trauma, that emotional pain that I was used to for the past 20 years, So I just looked for recreating my subconscious beliefs over and over again. It showed up in smoking a pack and a half of cigarettes. It showed up in taking sleeping pills. It showed up in drinking copious amounts of alcohol nights before the performances, and then showing up, just for the show and being completely hungover, manipulating every chance that I had to prove myself I'm not worthy.
Yeah. And that's something, and I just want to speak to, I can really relate to this. I didn't share this before, but I'll share this now, was really the way that this emotional pain was showing up for me in my normal life was through abusive relationships and toxic relationships, even at a young age. Right. And I always say that there's many results that happen from the internal abuse that we face as dancers. Like it doesn't just show up in our dancing. And actually, normally we don't even see it in our dancing or in the studio. It's just normal. But there's like these outcomes that happen in our every single day life that start to come forward. And for me, it was abusive relationships as well, and toxic relationships. And like you said, for me, it was also just using every opportunity I had to manipulate the situation so that I could be seen and like try to prove myself, whether that was through my body looking a certain way, through my romantic relationships, whatever that was, right? I was always trying to manipulate the situation so that I could be seen, because there was a part of me that just wanted to be accepted and seen and loved. But it wasn't getting that from the place that I really wanted it, which was the dance industry.
Beautiful. Wow. Okay. Let's talk about, I just say, I think it is so beautiful, and it just makes it so worthy that all the pain that we are experiencing in our past, there's a reason for it, right? Like, we can make it our superpower. We can make it our own and turn it around and use it not only to heal us, but also providing a pathway, a guidance for others to take it as an example to how they can heal themselves. And from what I'm hearing from you now is that you definitely have tapped into that power. You're using your past wounds to learn from them, to heal them, and to guide others on how to heal them as well. And we always have a choice. Like, you have the choice to just be the victim and ask, oh, why me? Why do I have to? And roll around in that mud puddle and never get up. Or you choose to, no, I am not defeated by this. This is not happening to me. It's happening for me. So therefore, I'm going to use it and make my pain my power. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. And I wanted to say really quick, because I really love this. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, is just like the victim in us that kind of like starts to form as dancers, right? Like, the dance industry is doing this to me. Like, the space I was in is doing this to me. And there's realness to that, right? So like, maybe the space you're in was unsafe and something did happen in that space, right? There's the realness to that, but there's also the fact that we get to choose to take ownership of our own bodies and our own healing, and nobody else can do that for us. And the minute that we choose that, we're loosening the grip from the dance industry. We're loosening the grip from the spaces that maybe didn't treat us how we should have been treated. And we're not giving them the power anymore to take ownership over us. We're now taking ownership over our own body. We're creating sovereignty in our own body. And that's like a message that I feel really passionate about sharing, because I feel like, especially right now, when things are kind of like coming up and like awakening, and like people are starting to like really see what's actually happening. I feel like sometimes we're stuck in that, oh, they did this to me. Oh. And yes, they did. And yes, they're in the wrong, or they, whatever it, right? Industry, whatever, right? But, and also, we can't stay in that dynamic. We have to first take ownership over what's happening internal in order to truly heal the dance industry as a whole.
Oh, can we just go there for a second? Like, this is so good, because it is always a two-way street. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that very loudly, because I was that person blaming everybody else. I was blaming my directors and my teachers and everybody involved for me not getting where I wanted to get, or for being anorexic, or for having problems, or like, you name it. And I had to become really honest with myself when I started my own healing journey, that yes, for sure, it was them asking me, for them telling me, but it's also me reacting to what they're asking me to do. So if I don't know my own power, if I don't know what I'm capable of, if I don't know who I am, what I stand for, and where I want to go, then that's on me. That has nothing to do. I had no boundaries whatsoever. And this is, where the fear comes in, that, but if I have boundaries, if I tell them no, then they will just fire me and take the next answer that will not be reluctant to the abuse that is being offered to me. That might be true, but what is it really worth? Is it really worth your sanity, your health, your spiritual and mental and physical health? It is. 20 years ago, I would have answered, oh yeah, it's worth everything. It's worth everything.
Yes.
Because I didn't see myself. I didn't think I was worthy of feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it starts. It starts with us, with every single person understanding their superpowers and what they're great for and why they're here, why they're doing what they're doing, and where are their boundaries.
Yeah, 100%. And like, here's something I've been exploring this week, actually. It's like, who am I actually dancing for? Because I still have those people pleaser parts that come in, and I try to prove myself, or I try to, I don't know, take a class and like be seen, right? I still have those parts. I'll always still have those parts. It's a constant healing journey. But a question that came to me this week was like, who am I actually dancing for? Like when it comes down to it, even in the past, before I had my son and came into the space, I could have asked myself the same thing, like, who am I dancing for? Like, I'm dancing because I truly am passionate about dancing. Like, I actually love to dance. And I really want to be able to pursue this. But at the end of the day, I'm dancing for myself because I love this. I wouldn't have put myself through all of this stuff if I didn't love it. Let's face that. And also we get to choose that, wow, I'm dancing for myself. So really, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what those people out there are doing. It just matters what I'm doing and what I'm intentionally choosing. And I also want to say, like, intentionally choosing and being able to separate yourself from spaces that may be harmful, or just like having that sense of sovereignty, that sense of choice can be challenging and triggering. And this is why it's really important to create safety in your body before you go out and voice that to the outside world. Because like you said, we got to have that, we got to be able to hold that space of self-worth inside of ourselves before we expect anybody else to hear us.
Oh, 100%. Yes. I want to add something. And I recently just learned this. A great mentor of mine said, ego is your biggest overhead.
Yeah.
So, and I had to really go inside and understand that. Even dancing was, after a while, coming from a place of ego, meaning that everything that I did out of fear of not being seen, or what I did to manipulate myself, or the tantrums or the eating disorders, it was all because of my ego. So I was my personal biggest overhead. And when he pointed that out a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, right. You're so right. Like it brought, like my entire castle just fell down in the sand. And I restarted the building up. It's like, okay, what does that look like serving me and others? Like, what if I would have made the dance not about my fears and my perfectionism and my fear of not being good enough, or my feet not being worked enough, or my legs not being high enough? But what if I have made it about the people that are come to see me or to see the performance? Like I never made it about them, giving them something, a part of my soul, a part of me, to actually create emotions in them, because that's why they're coming. Like I never made that connection until a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I love this so much. Yeah, I can 100% relate to that. Even doing this work and guiding this work, I'll sometimes feel my ego show up, and I'll like try to show myself off, like look at the things I can do. Like it still shows up even when you're doing this work. But I can really relate to that in my dancing, because I faced the same thing. Like it was always to prove myself. Like always, it was always so I could be seen. It wasn't so that I could share my heart, my vulnerability, or my humanness. It was just so I could prove to whoever was watching that I was good enough, because I didn't believe it myself. And I think that in order to truly be able to like to truly be able to, I don't want to say detach from the ego. A lot of people say like detach from the ego or like ignore the ego, but the ego is a part of us, and that ego needs love and acceptance as well. But in order to not have the ego control you, there has to be this relationship with self where you accept yourself and you see yourself as enough. And then from there, you can also see everybody else as enough. And then it's like this level playing field of nobody's higher than me, nobody's underneath me, we're all just here. And then we can share our hearts and share our vulnerability with each other through our arts.
Very nice. I love that. Yes. But isn't vulnerability something that was never allowed? And I'm going to use that as a pivot point, but that's definitely something that, gosh, I had so much shame around who I was and what I was capable of, that I would have been never in a million years would I ever shown up as that person.
Yeah.
Never, ever.
Yeah.
So let's talk about pain. And I'm going there because I was looking on your personal Instagram account, and this post particularly resonated with me so much and brought up some alt stories around pain that I believe is so important that we're talking about it. And so here is where I'm at with not pain, but with the discovery through my upbringings and through my career as a professional ballet dancer in Europe and in North America. Pain was always something that we sought for validation, to be good enough or to be working hard enough, or the ticket to success. And I have to say that even in my corporate career, pain in a different level, and pain showed up differently than it did as a dancer. However, it was still pain. Yet again, was the sign that I was searching for to get the ticket to success, to climb the ladder, to be the manager, to be the district manager, to have this six-figure salary. All of this, it was driven by how much pain can I endure. And I feel that is definitely something that still comes out in the teaching of some teachers, that it has to hurt. Like, it's just, if you can't endure pain, if you can't be resilient to the pain mentally or physically, then you're not a fit for the industry. Now, can you elaborate a little bit? And if you need the post at what you've written, I'm more than happy to jump in and help, but I know you're passionate about it. So let's talk a little bit around what actually brought this to life, to talk about it, because not many people talk about pain.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a subject when it comes to when we are on the journey of healing a relationship to our body, or on some type of a healing journey as dancers, it doesn't really get touched upon, because it's like, wait, but I need pain in order to be a dancer. Like, I need to feel pain in order to be good enough. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we don't really talk about it because we don't think there's a way to actually be a dancer and not have pain. And this is what I feel. This is what I think. This is my perspective. It's not that we don't feel pain, right? We're human beings. We feel pain. Pain is real. Pain exists. And actually, pain is our biggest teacher. Pain is our teacher. Emotional pain is our teacher, and also physical pain is our teacher. And that's our body crying out to us that there's something that we need to look at, right? Or it's our body saying, okay, take care of me. Like, pay attention to this. Like, stop ignoring it and stop pushing it down. But when it comes to the physical pain that we face as dancers, I feel that pain is like growth, right? Pain is growth. We can't grow if we're not going to feel uncomfortable and in pain. But the thing that we're missing in the dance industry is the safety to feel the pain without identifying with the story of the pain. And so what that means is, okay, I feel, right, the story that you were talking about earlier. Pain means I'm enough. If I'm not feeling pain, then I'm not enough. And so we identify with that story. And then that creates the suffering in the body. And so we're stuck in this loop of suffering, of emotional suffering now, that we need pain in order to be enough. And that's not the truth. It's not the truth. Pain is just a transition point into the next, I guess, level. I don't like the word level, but we can say like into the next awakening, right? Into the next space of growth. It's just a transition point, and we don't always have to be in pain in order to be enough. And so we have to begin to teach our bodies what enough is without the pain first. So teach our bodies that I am enough and I'm safe to be enough without feeling pain. And then when we have that platform to feel safe without feeling pain, we can then go and grow, right? And we can, not endure, that's not the right word. We can then go and feel pain as growth, right? And we can listen to our bodies of how we can support ourselves best as we grow. And so, yes, like holding your leg up, you're going to feel pain, right? Because that's growth. That's your muscle getting used to it. But we're so addicted to the suffering of pain that we'll do anything at any cost to be enough, right? And that's what we really want to start to heal, is like that addiction to pain. I don't know if I just went on in a circle.
No. This is so good because it is an addiction as well. Like it's an emotional addiction that, produces certain types of endorphins or hormones that we then teach our body we need in order to feel a certain way. This is so good. Let's go a little deeper here. So I'm going to give you an example of what I discovered about myself in terms of pain and suffering. So I actually created my environment as a suffering environment because that's how I thought my mother, who I looked for love so much and not really received it in a way that I needed to, would see me. Okay. And me not being aware of it, I just kept on creating the same thing over and over again through different ways. And even in my job, I created it. Like I either hurt myself and said, no, I can still dance, just to get the attention through the suffering, through the pain that I induced myself. Okay, not having the guts to say, hey, that actually isn't serving me. I'm going to give myself even more pain in the long term if I don't step out right now. And what I realized actually just last year in July was that it was my default. It was my safe place. It was my home to create the suffering. And even when it didn't exist anymore, I was still looking for it. I was always rolling in that I'm not enough. I can't do this. I'm not enough kind of space, which was emotional pain that I went through myself or gave myself. And the giving myself the permission that, hey, happiness can be easy.
Yeah.
Success can be easy. Everything in life can be fun and easy and coming from a place of joy as long as I'm choosing it to be. It doesn't mean that they're not hard days. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt emotionally or physically. I'm just looking at it from a completely different perspective now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So add, please, because I'm...
Yeah, no, I love that so much. And just like, thank you for being vulnerable with me and just like sharing that. Because I faced similar like this last year as well with really exploring this for myself. And I feel like when it comes to this whole situation and being a dancer, in order to really, really be able to live a life where you feel free, right? Where you feel free to be yourself and you feel like you belong in your body is your home. You're not at war with your body anymore. There has to be a detachment from dance. I don't mean stop dancing. I mean, there has to be a detachment from your identity as a dancer. And so it's the identity, an identity as a dancer is the perfectionism. It's like the I need the pain in order to be enough. Like that's the identity. Dance alone is not bad or wrong or hurting you. It's the identity and the constructs around the concept of being a dancer that really begin to separate us from our true innate worth and our true innate ability to feel happy and free in our bodies. And so you can have that feeling at the same time as dancing if you separate the two, if you separate we have to get to a place of I'm human and I'm me and I'm innately worthy and I am innately deserving of all of this happiness and freedom and joy in my body. And I can choose to do the action of dance, right? Instead of I am a dancer, I have to do all of these things to be a dancer. It's like, this is me, I am me, I'm at home when I'm me. And then from this space, I can choose to do actions that support my desire of dancing. And it's like a whole different perspective shift. It's a whole different energy that you come at dancing from. So I think like that shift is, it's very internal. Like you can't, there's not really changing anything on the external world in this shift. It's very internal and it's very slight and nobody's going to feel it but you get to dive into this for yourself.
Yes. I just completely lost my thought while you were talking. I was like, oh, I need to say this, but no. Totally. I will come back. So when we're talking about healing, let me ask you this question. Who are your coaches? Let's just get there first, because it is so important. I will never, ever be without a mentor or coach in my life ever again. Because there's always something that I need to learn or want to learn, not need to, I want to learn. There's always somebody that I want in my life that can hold that space for me to cry my eyes out or to celebrate my wins with, or to just dream really ridiculously big, or just to feel like, you know what, today is not the day to talk to you at all. Like I always want to have that person in my life. And I know that coaches provide that space, or masterminds or communities, etc., whatever you want to call it. So who was your first coach? How did you start?
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't be like where I am emotionally without them. And I believe that everybody needs somebody in their corner there for them, to support them, that's like unconditionally supporting them. And that's the piece that like really changed my life, was having somebody / a community to like hold that unconditional space of like, you could mess up, you could do anything, and we're still going to love you and we're still going to see you for who you are. That completely changed everything for me. So my first coach was actually a business coach. Her name is Rachel Symington. And yeah, she's awesome. She, like I said, she's a business coach, but she teaches a lot on the feminine and how to like really have pleasure when you're running a business or doing any kind of serving work like that. And that was a really big transition for me, because I was coming from the state of constantly hustling and like pushing my worth all of the time. And so it was like this awakening point of like, oh, like you don't have to do that because you're already worthy. So that was my first one. And then as I moved into healing modalities and just exploring different certifications, and who's also my mentor, like currently right now, that's Samantha Skelly. And she has completely changed my life. I owe her everything, because she, just like the space that she's held for me to transform my life has been unconditional. And yeah, she's my breathwork teacher and she's my energy worker teacher. So all of these tools that I have been learning from her or her community that she's provided me. And yeah, just like having community behind me, supporting me unconditionally has been like so transformational. And I will also say just my colleagues and my peers and also like my clients, like I'm constantly learning from everybody. Like even the people who I'm quote unquote serving, like it's a co-creation process. I'm learning from my clients every single day. I'm learning from the people around me every single day. I belong, I don't want to say I belong. That's not the right words. I am a part of the Dance Safe. I don't know if you've heard of the Dance Safe. So it's an organization that deals with abuse in the dance industry. And so, yeah, I work with them, and it's this beautiful community that really supports true healing and or true healing in the dance community. And I have learned so much from them of how to hold different spaces in the dance industry.
Where are they located?
What was that?
Where are they located?
Oh, where are they located? Online. Yeah, virtually.
Oh, just
yeah. So you can find them on Instagram at the Dance Safe. Yeah. So like that's another, like I think the point that I'm really trying to get across here is that like we get to learn from everybody. Like having those people, yes, like having that coach or having that facilitator or that leader in your corner is so transformational and so needed. But, and also it's so important to surround yourself with a variety of people, with a variety of experiences to hold different spaces for you.
Beautiful. Yes. Just on a side note, I think you will love Christine Hassler. Just look into her.
I know who she is.
You know her? Yeah. Oh my gosh. She's my hero. Yeah. She's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So tell us, what are you currently doing? What are you offering? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so right now I'm enrolling in the Evolved Dancer program. So this is a 5-month group program. It's for the dancers who truly want to begin to heal their relationship with their body. And so what's really exciting about this round is I am currently making it more accessible to any dancer who really wants to heal their relationship with their body through different pricing plans and different tiers. And so there's ways where you can get super deep and like one-on-one support. And then there's tiers where you can get a little bit less support, but it's still affordable for you if you're in a space where you truly want to heal and you want to begin that journey, but maybe you're not in a space to invest a ton of money into it. So the Evolved Dancer program, it's all about healing your relationship to your body while still pursuing dance. We dive into the somatics of healing, which is healing your body, healing the trauma that has happened inside of your body. A lot of coaches and a lot of therapy happen from your mind. So it's like talk therapy. You're just talking and you're wrapping yourself up in your story kind of thing. So what I really love to do is I love to take dancers down into their bodies where actually the trauma lies. And that's the work that we do in the Evolved Dancer program. I'm going to be running a workshop soon. I'm actually running a workshop. We're recording this before, but I'm running a workshop in a week of us recording it. But I'm going to be holding another workshop closer to the start date of the Evolved Dancer program. Yeah, and I think that's it. One more thing, I'm opening up space to start doing workshops for different dance companies. So if you're a dance company and you want to bring maybe some resource and some support, like some actual support for your dancers to keep going through this pandemic and all of these things, I'm offering some workshops here and there as well to support other dance communities. And I think that's it.
Oh,
that's a lot.
I love it. Yeah, that's a lot. That's not just it. That's a lot. That's fantastic. So I have always a last question, but let me reframe it a little bit because you're still in your early 20s. So me asking, what would you tell your 16-year-old self doesn't really apply. If you could start over again, as in rebirth, help me, what would be 2 things that you learned so far that you would do differently?
That's a really interesting question because like part of me is like, I don't know if I would start over. because like everything that I learned is because of everything that I've experienced.
You get to keep your learnings.
Mm-hmm. I really think it's the permission slip to just be myself without trying to prove myself. And that goes into like dancing, like the way that I move my body, the way that I express myself, the way that I speak, and it's a constant work in progress. And that wasn't just a tool or a switch. It was just a journey of coming into this place where I don't feel like I have to prove myself, at least most of the time, anymore. Yeah, I think that's been like the biggest gift for me of doing this work.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a big permission slip. Because I feel like we all, and at definitely different points in our life, but have definitely chased that approval stamp quite heavily. And it is so exhausting. And it really it creates the wrong kind of energy. Just
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And like I said, like when I say it's a work in progress, I mean, it's like a work in progress. Like I'm talking yesterday, I had this talk with myself too. And it's a constant journey. I'm constantly coming back to, wow, I'm like trying to prove myself in this situation. Like, how can I come back to my worth, and how can I come back to my humanness, and just like that permission slip to just be myself, coming back to that energy. So it's a daily thing. It's a daily reminder, especially when you've lived your whole life in an industry and a society that tells you different.
Yeah. You know, I found that self-development is so much about learning something new. It's unlearning that we have to be programmed to be like, or.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's not like, we're learning tools, but really those tools are just things that our body already knows how to do most of the time, which is to support your well-being and your safety inside of yourself. It's like relearning. I had this conversation with my client a little bit ago. It was like we're reteaching our systems how to feel safe. We're reteaching our systems that they're enough. It's not that they aren't enough and they need to learn how to be enough. It's like we're relearning, we're reteaching. They already know, they just need to be reminded of what that's like.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Taylor, for this conversation. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for, going the path. I know that path isn't easy, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
Because it is so much more rewardful and so much more fulfilling than anything I've ever done prior to that. And thanks for making a difference in the world.
Yeah.
The answers needed 100%. This is why this podcast is, up and running. This is why I stepped out of my own space of comfortability and gotten over all of my, not all, some shame and fears to really ignite that renaissance that we so desperately need.
Yeah. And I feel that, like, I can really feel that from you, like how true this is. And I just want to say that I really appreciate like you taking that step forward to hold this space and to like make all this possible. I can truly feel like your vulnerability and like your desire to create this change. So thank you.
Thank you, love. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.